Welcome back to Scary Nightmare. Today I brought you a very interesting story. So stay tuned and let's begin. But quickly before I begin, just like, subscribe, show some love, whatever you want, alright? And for now, let's begin the stare. When I was 10, I formed a junior detective squad. My mother bought me the entire box set of What's New Scooby-Doo, and I was inspired to start my very own detective gang. I held auditions outside my gymnasium at recess after a number of kids tried to apply for the role of Scooby-Doo, despite my reiterating I was not interested in playing make-believe. When I was laughed at in class, I made posters strictly asking for serious wannabe detectives, even going as far as using my mother's printer to make flyers, sticking them all over the school. Auditions were simple. I asked them to solve a simple riddle. Whoever impressed me got to sign their name down, and I'd get back to them. I spent 3 days sifting through kids who definitely had charm, but they lacked the intelligence of a junior detective. Most kids were only auditioning to make fun of me. Anyway, still though, I didn't give up. My flyers had 5 requirements. 1. You had to be smart. 2. You were not allowed to be a scaredy cat. 3. You had to accept your inevitable death at the hands of our town's evil villains. 4. You had to have a fully registered driving license. I quickly changed this to a bike. 5. You cannot have a criminal record. I later scribbled this one out. Writing over it, you cannot have any tardies. Narrowing the applicants down to 3 kids, all of whom failed to share my enthusiasm for solving cases. The kids I picked didn't even know how to make plans, and when I invited them to my house, they stole my mom's necklace. I didn't even need to solve the mystery of who stole mom's necklace. The girl was wearing it at school. I punched her in the face, and I was immediately sent to the principal's office. When I was being given the mother's all lectures, the door quietly opened, and there was a head peeking through. That was Ben Carlos, a freaky kid with overgrown brown hair hanging in his eyes. Ben really needed a haircut. He was always wearing the exact same baseball cap, and I found myself wondering if it was permanently glued to his head. Sorry guys, this part got me, man. That's kind of like bullying, bro. Anyways, stuck on top of unruly brown curls practically matted to his forehead. In class, Ben was always known as Bloody Ben. In the 2nd grade, the boy had a nosebleed in the middle of a spelling test, bleeding all over his paper. It is not like he didn't try and detach himself from the name. Ben brought in Digimon cards, so kids would call him Digimon Ben instead. Then he accidentally spilled yogurt down his shirt in hopes we would call him Yogurt Ben. But no, the kids in our class were relentless in reminding him of his name. No matter what he did, he was still Bloody Ben. And when anything related to blood came up in class, 15 pairs of eyes would swivel to him, like he had invited the concept of bleeding. I feared a nickname would follow him to junior high. Ben didn't wait to be let in. He didn't even knock, striding in with his arm folded. Over the years, Bloody Ben had definitely sourced his personality. He smiled rarely, and when he did smile, someone was falling over or hurting themselves, which definitely strengthened the claims of him being a sociopath. The rumor mill was churning, with the latest claiming Bloody Ben killed his cat. That wasn't true. Ben's cat was 17 with cancer, and that is why he was sobbing all the way through reading time. According to Ellie Daly, however, Ben had killed and dissected his kitty and buried her in his mom's flowers. Oh my god, what a crazy person. Now, my principal didn't like being interrupted, especially when she was in the middle of screaming at me. Principal Merrill was old, like 30 or something in my 10-year-old mind. Stick thin like a pencil, and always wore the same stained sweater. She used to be pretty, but I was convinced she had kissed a frog and been cursed after her old principal suffered a stroke. She stepped in a temporary replacement, and since becoming principal, had banned my favorite book series, Colored Shoelaces, and Hamburger Helper, even officiating a uniform. Kids were convinced she was a witch, and I kind of believed it. Principal Mara's whole existence was built in sucking the fun out of school. I was already reprimanded for my mystery gang flyers. Her office smelled of peppermint and she was definitely sneaking sips of whiskey in her coffee cup. I could see the bottle sticking out of the trash. She straightened up, folding her arms across her chest, squinty eyes narrowing at the boy. I had spent the whole time she was lecturing me trying not to cry, and fists bunched in my lap. I took the distraction as the perfect opportunity to wipe at my eyes, allowing myself to breathe. Ben Callows was her victim now. I was right. The woman's voice was like a thunderclap in my ears. "You better have a good reason for not knocking, young man." Ben wasn't fazed by her tone. "You took my Switch 2 weeks ago," he said. "I want it back, or I'm telling my mother." At first, I literally thought I'd misheard him. Now, I was pretty sure he'd threatened our principal. I swore I heard all of the breath sucked from the room. "I'm sorry." Principal Marrow cleared her throat. Her soft tone was dangerous. She wasn't being nice. The lady was about to explode. I could see visible veins straining on her temples. Her right eye was twitching as well. It was straight out of a cartoon. "Did you forget something, Ben?" Ben sighed. Like she was inconveniencing him. He held out his hand. "Please, can I have my Switch back? It counts as stolen property. Give it back, or I'm telling my mom." The kid put so much emphasis on the word please, I couldn't resist a smile. I think our principal was too shocked to get angry. "Get out," she said, and in a firm way she said, "I don't have your gaming device. It's in your drawer." Ben nodded to her desk. "Under your divorce papers and a restraining order ordered by Jake Wellow, the 17-year-old boy you've been having math tutoring sessions with." He coated the air, his gaze lazily rolling to me. "Tutoring." Principal Marrow went deathly pale, and her eyes were getting dark. "Benjamin Callows, the school already knows about the restraining order, but your uncle is the head of the Board of Education, and so all you get is a slap on the wrist and a warning to leave the boy alone." Ben continued, and I found myself mesmerized by his words. He wasn't natural, his expression stoic, mouth curved with satisfaction that wasn't quite a smile. However, he held up his phone, pulling it away at the exact moment the teacher attempted to grab it. "You were outside Jack Wellow's house at 6:12 a.m., drunk, and trying to climb through his window, which I think violates the restraining order, does it not?" Ben pretended to think real hard, his gaze flicking to the ceiling. "I mean, I'm just a kid, right?" His mouth curled into the hint of a smirk. "What do I know, huh?" Principal Marrow's expression twisted. Her lip was wobbling. "Mr. Callows, remove yourself from my office, or I'm calling your father." Leaning comfortably against the door, Ben's lip twitched. "Why? Are you planning on telling my dad about your relations with a teenage boy? Or will I have to tell him instead?" I was enthralled and fully disgusted, making a move to inch away from the woman. But it does not end there. Ben continued. He straightened up, taking slow, intimidating steps towards the woman's desk. "You don't even want Jake, do you? Because once upon a time, you were in love with his father, Jason Wellow. You despised him for rejecting you. You decided to defile his son." Ben leaned over the principal's desk, slipping his hand into the drawer and pulling out his Switch. Painfully slow, she stood there speechless as her shoulders were trembling. Ben smiled, and I found myself liking it. "Thank you," he said, waving the console in her face. Ben memlocking his mouth and throwing away the key. My lips are sealed. Ben's half-lidded eyes found mine. "Are you coming, Panda?" I forgot my own nickname. Panda. I wore my mom's eyeliner because I thought it looked cool. It didn't. Finding my breath, I snapped out of it. Jumping up, I followed him out of the office. And when the two of us were safely on the hallway, I burst into hysterical giggles. "How did you know all of that?" I whisper in a shrieked manner. Ben surprised me with a splutter. "Wait, you believe me?" Something very cold trickled down my spine. I stopped walking. "You lied." He shrugged. I had to dig around her office before she caught me a few days ago. Ben swung his arms, a smile curling on his mouth. "There is no restraining order, but there is prescription for antipsychosis medicine and an extremely detailed story on her laptop about a teacher-student romance, which I presume is a self-insert." Ben shot me a sickly grin. The school refused to make her condition public. He prodded at his own cotton shirt embroidered with the school emblem. Why do you think she's made all these dumb rules? The woman is a certified Looney Tune. I nodded slowly. Wait, what about Jake and his dad? I made them up. I choked out a laugh, and then I said, what about the video as well? Ben walked faster and faster, pulling out his phone and shoving it in my face. The video was real. Principal Merrill was walking around in circles, draped in her nightgown. At her own house, he explained. She locked herself out. Nodding slowly, I was in awe. Bloody Ben was kind of fucking amazing, but the restraining order isn't real. Ben raised a brow, coming to an abrupt halt. It was his smile that cemented his place in my gang. His lack of empathy for a woman he had gaslighted into being a disgusting human being. Ben Callis wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but he fascinated me. Maybe for the wrong reasons. Our filling cabinets are filled with tinned cat food. Panda, he said with an exaggerated sigh. I'm not psychic, but I think we will be okay. I turned to him, unable to stop myself jumping up and down with excitement. Will you be my first? Ben inclined his head. Will I be your what? I shook my head. Sorry, I mean will you join my mystery gang? The boy's eyes lit up, and I shoved him playfully. To solve real cases, I corrected myself, not to make them up. Ben wore a real, proper smile, but there was something in his eyes, a darkness that was so hollow and polluted and wrong. I pretended not to see it for the sake of his smarts and intellect. Well, if you insist, sure. Ben held out his hand, and I shook it. I'll be your first. We found our second member, who was, ironically looking for her glasses under the table in class. Lucy Pascal, the quiet girl, was born to be with us. Then the class eraser went missing. To be continued.